All right, everybody, welcome back. I'm teacher Nathan from Writers at Work, and this afternoon we'll be looking at the SCGS Primary 5 SA2 paper. Okay, so let's look at some grammar questions. Okay, I think there's some missing words here. Okay. Question 1 reads, that box of chocolates, together with the boots, dash for my father's birthday next week. First thing, we are looking at subject verb agreement questions here. Next, we're looking at one box of chocolate. So this is considered as singular. In addition, next week tells me that it is in the future. Therefore, I will use present tense. So looking at the question, I need singular and present tense, which would mean my answer would be number 1, is. Okay. Where children. The first 3 slots, that means the 10:30, 12, and 2:30 slots for this Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is taken by teacher Nathan. Now moving on. My sister and brother are always teasing me, but I still love Dash very much. Over here, we are looking at pronouns. And the 2 keywords are sister, brother. This is plural because there are 2 of them. As such, we will use them. We will only use this word us when it includes the author. Okay, moving on. Let's take a look at question 3. Hassan was walking alone along the dark alley when he felt something furry dash his legs. So we are interested in tenses here. And we need to remember felt, which is a verb. Next, our blank over here is also another verb. When there are 2 verbs in the question, we need to use the verbs of perception rule. Which means that when there is verb 1 and verb 2, verb 2 will be in the base form. As such, our answer would be number 1, brush against his legs. Okay. Now, for everyone's learning purpose, let's go through the other 3 options. Brushes is present tense and singular, while brushed is in past tense. Was brushing, this is in the past continuous tense, which means that the action was taking place sometime in the past. For example, I could say that mother was brushing the dirt off the sweater yesterday night. So yesterday night is a very general time period, and basically your past continuous tense is used to express this ambiguity in time, and this time must be in the past. Okay, let's take a look at question 4. After the devastating earthquake, many residents returned home to discover that their houses, dash completely. Again, we are interested in tenses here. And we observe different time periods that have different activities. The residents return home. This is the past tense, and this is also event number 1. And we also have the second event here. The houses being destroyed. So this would be in the this is also the second event in the past, right? But our second event occurred for some time in the past and it ended in the past. Okay, so let's draw a timeline. So my present is now the residents return home and the house being destroyed. So you can see that the destruction of the house started in the past and lasted some time and ended here, which is still in the past. Subsequently, the residents returned home and we are looking at the present now. So to actually show that the destruction of the house started in the past and ended in the past, we will need to use had been destroyed. Okay, number 4. Now, then when do we use the others? Well, destroy is for present tense and plural. While are destroying, this is known as the present continuous tense. This means that my action was ongoing at the time of speaking. Next, were destroying is in the past continuous tense, which means that my action was continuing sometime in the past. Moving on, let's take a look at question 5. Okay, there's a missing word here. The aroma of fresh coffee and fried eggs wafting through the air from the kitchen to our bedrooms dash us jump out of bed very quickly every morning. We're interested in tenses here. The first thing to know is the aroma or the smell. This is singular. Next, every morning shows that it's a habit. And when there's a habit, we always use present tense. Alright? As such, the aroma will makes us jump out of bed. Let's take a look at the other options given. Make is present tense and plural, while makes is present tense and singular. Not forgetting are making. This is the present continuous tense, which means that my action is ongoing at the time of speaking. Have made, this is in the present perfect tense. This means that my action is completed, but the effect is still felt. Let me give you examples of option 3 and option 4. Mother and I are making sushi for dinner now. So you can see the act of preparing dinner is happening as you talk. Next. So you can see, Mother and I have made sushi for lunch, and I'm still very curious about her recipe. This shows that the act of preparing lunch is completed. Okay. However, that the fact is still that the interest, for example, in cooking by the author is still present, and therefore we will use the present perfect tense. Okay, I'll just give everyone some time to take in the information before we move on to our next 5 questions. All right. There are no further questions. Let's take a look at the next few questions. Question 6. When I was growing up, my brother and I had easier chores such as taking out the garbage. Dash, my sisters had to help our mother prepare lunch and dinner. So we are looking at different activities, right? So the brother and I had to take out the garbage, and sister had to prepare lunch, right? So these are two different activities. So the word needed to link these two is called a conjunction. Looking at our options, the first one is since. Since means from a time in the past. Besides looks at additional information, whereas tells me similar ideas, while provided tells me on the condition of something. So if you look at the text, where the answer would be whereas, because we are looking at chores, household chores, and these household chores have there are two different kinds of activities: the easier ones and the preparation of lunch. All right, so our answer will be number 3. Now let me just give you some examples of the other options. So the first one, since brother has been in the police force since I was born. So we are looking at a very long period of time. Besides, the car, the rich man owned a boat. So I'm telling you additional information about somebody. Provided you will be able to take the exam provided you produce the medical certificate. So we are looking at this particular condition. If you want to do something, you need to fulfill this condition first. Okay, so that's how we use the word provided. Moving on, let's take a look at question 7. There isn't dash time to complete the assignment as the deadline for submission is in 2 days. So over here, we are interested in determiners. Which are basically your words that convey the quantity of something. Let's take a look at some keywords. Time. This is uncountable. And we also see that the deadline is in 2 days. That means your quantity here is very low. Let's take a look at my options. Many is countable, much is uncountable, some uncountable, a little is also uncountable. When you put isn't and you want a very low quantity, the determiner used need to be of a high quantity. So when you have a isn't, the negative connotation in front changes the meaning. So we're only looking at the first two. When we talk about isn't, we'll say it isn't much time. So option number 2. Okay. Now, when we use some, we are just referring to a fraction of that whole quantity. So we could say some of the boys, actually some is countable. Some of the cars, you can use it that way. A little is uncountable. Put in a little effort in this project. Put in a little bit of your time. Okay. Moving on, let's take a look at question 8. Dash the pupils in the class cut the construction paper correctly as directed. I would not have spent time explaining and demonstrating it to them again. So over here, we are looking at this is a mixture of subject-verb agreement and modal auxiliary verbs. And you can see that would is in past tense. When you use the word did, it is always used to form a question. As such, we will not use did for our sentence above because there is no question mark. Should here tells me that I have the obligation to do something. So there needs to be clues to tell me something is compulsory, etc. But this isn't the case for the above question. So this word will also not be used. Now I have and had. And if you observe, the would, you will not have to spend time explaining, is also in the past tense. So if I were to draw a timeline, present, and then the teacher has to spend time going through. And the pupils cutting the thing correctly. So you can see that over here, this event is the second event that occurred in the past. Spending time to explain is the first event that occurred in the past, right? As such, we will use had because had conveys the past perfect form, which means that one action occurred before the second action one action has been completed before the second action occurred. Okay, as such, our answer will be number 3. When we talk about have something that is in the present perfect form, which means that the event has been completed, but the effect is still felt. Okay. Now moving on to question 9. She'd be feeling very tired after completing the marathon. Dash. So we are looking at a question tag here. And the keyword is this. This stands for she would. So we have a positive connotation at the start. The negative connotation needs to be at the back. Therefore, we will say, wouldn't she? Okay? Now moving on to question 10. My father has just painted the walls in my bedroom. He reminded me not to dash the walls as the paint is still wet. So we are interested in prepositions here. And the keyword is you lean. And you're looking at leaning. You're looking at leaning, which is like resting your body on the wall. So we are interested in this act of having some force against the wall, right? Looking at our options, the first one is at, which tells me a location. I am at the mall. This is P5 cat level 23. Next is in. In shows a position. I am in the house. Next we have over, which shows a particular height. The plane flew over the building. Lastly, against. This is talking about in the opposite direction of something. As such, when we talk about leaning against something, so we are looking at how you are being supported by the wall. As such, our answer here will be number 4. All right. I'll just give everyone some time to take in the information before we move on to the vocabulary section. If there are no further questions, let's take a look at question 11. The dash toddler gets upset very easily and throws a tantrum if he does not get his way. His parents have difficulties controlling him when he has an outburst. The keyword we have is outburst. So outburst is basically you have this uncontrolled release of emotions. So it could be that you are very angry and you start banging the table, to crying, etc. All right. Yeah, very good. Cat lover 23 correctly pointed out that is someone who is very temperamental. This means that you are liable to mood changes. That means you can be happy one moment and suddenly become angry. Now, looking at the other options, the first one is unfaithful. Unfaithful, that means someone cannot be trusted in a relationship. compose means that one's feelings. My mother is also like that. One's feelings are under control or calm. Then we have uncomplaining, which means that someone is willing to do boring work. All right. Moving on to question 12. My mother never liked seafood, but dash after trying stir-fried chili crabs. So, two things. You never like, but after that, uh, you accept it. Accept the cuisine. Looking at our options, the first one is came into, which means that you receive money after, or you can talk about any kind of resources, house, car, etc. after your relative pass on. Next, came over means you influence somebody suddenly to behave in a particular way. Came about means to happen or start to happen. While came around means you change your opinion. So looking at our text, you could see that mother never liked seafood, so she kind of hates it. But she decided to eat stir-fried chili crab, and therefore she accepted the cuisine, which shows that she has changed her view or mindset towards the seafood. As such, our answer will be number 4. You came around. Okay. Now moving on, let's take a look at question 13. It was reported in the newspaper that 9 food and beverage outlets had their food licenses dashed for breaching COVID-19 safe management measures. So we're looking at some kind of license, some kind of authorization or approval to do something. And you can see it's something negative because they have breached, that means they broke a law. Okay, so looking at our answers, the first one, the options, the first one is revive, which means that you restore to life. Next, we have restore, which means bring back or re-establish previous situation. Revoke means you officially say an agreement is no longer in effect. Lastly, revamped means that something is of a new form and structure. So if you look at this license or this agreement to do something, and the license is that agreement, for example, to run your food or your coffee shop, things like that, and suddenly you broke a law. So we are looking at how this agreement is terminated. The government say that you no longer can do the food, can run your food store. So this has the meaning of revoked. Okay, so it's number 3. Now moving on. In times of what? it is important to have someone to rely on for advice and help. So the idea is advice and help, which are basically things that are needed when you are in some kind of distress. Yes, very good. Cat lover 23. The answer here will be in times of crisis. Because crisis means some time of intense difficulty. We have drama here, which means an exciting or emotional event. Next is the word revival, which means you have an improvement in condition or strength. Lastly, demand means that you make a request as if it was a right. That means you are entitled to it. Then you say, I want this. All right. Lastly, we have uh, question 50 here. The protesters raised their fist, dash, even after the police had warned them of dire consequences for causing trouble in a public space. So you can see that when you raise the fist, it shows that you are trying to disobey someone. Not forgetting, we have the police who warned them already. So this is an authority and they are trying to disperse the protesters. So looking at our options, the first one, vaguely. Vaguely means in an uncertain way. Could vaguely remember what you ate for lunch last year because it's so long and you never really put into memory this fact. Now, the next one is defiantly, which means that you disobey someone. All right. Yearningly means you have a strong feeling or a wish for something. While absent-mindedly means you do not pay attention to what you are doing. Okay. So you can see that the protesters have the intention to not obey or disobey the police. So our answer will be number 2. They raise their fist defiantly. Okay. Okay, come, let's go on. I'll just give everyone some time to take in the information I've shared before we move on to our what's that section called, the vocabulary close section. And yes, cat lover 23, where we have a very good observation. Yeah, I prefer writing this way. I feel that it's comfortable for my hand. All right, let's go on to vocab close now. So what will happen is I'll read through the text with you and we would discuss the underlined words. Subsequently, we'll look at the options given to us. Okay. The NDP-NE show returned on 2nd July 2022. This was after a 2-year break. A break here means something is interrupted. Thousands of P5 students showed up at the Marina Bay floating platform. The students screamed in delight as the various elements of the parade made their appearances. So we are looking at a high scream is your high pitched sound. Next, delight here is basically you please somebody greatly. Many of the children help their phones to capture the action. When you want to capture something, you want to record something accurately. All right. Any show aims to provide experience for P5 students to gain a deeper understanding of what it means to be Singaporean and to forge ahead. Forging ahead here means you want to make progress in something. Singapore is in the midst of a COVID-19 wave. In the midst, that means in the middle of something. With all these meanings in mind, let's take a look at the options given to us. First one is break. Break, that means there's some interruption between a continuous flow of events. So let's take a look at the options given to us. Hiatus means there's a pause in continuity. Division means you want to separate something into parts. Interval means there's a pause in activity. While intermission means there's a pause between parts of a concert. So there isn't any while there is a pause in the NDP celebration, you will see that this pause is not deliberate. It's due to unforeseen circumstances, COVID. So it will not be number 3 and number 4, because these two tell me that the activity is paused deliberately as part of the schedule. Now, there isn't any separation of parts, so we will not call it a division. And thus, the only answer that we have is number 1, hiatus. Okay? Now, let's take a look at question 17 now. When you scream in delight, it means that you are pleased very greatly and you just produce this high-pitched sound to show your satisfaction. Looking at our options here, we have whine, which is basically a high-pitched complaining cry. So you are trying to show your displeasure towards something. Squeal here is basically a shrill, that means a high-pitched cry to express your enthusiasm. We also have chattered, which means that you talk informally about unimportant matters. Lastly, when you whisper, you speak very softly for the sake of secrecy. That means you don't want to reveal some kind of information to a lot of people. Now, let's go back to the question. We are looking at how you scream because you are happy or you're excited. So we are looking at only option 1 and 2. But option 1 is regarding complaint or something that you are not happy about. So the only possible answer is number 2. All right. Moving on, we have question 18. Capture. Capture means you want to record something accurately. It can be in terms of pictures, in terms of words. But in this case, because we are looking at phones, so it's probably pictures. First one, forfeit, which means that there is a fine or penalty for wrongdoing. Next, record means you have evidence about something. It can be written, pictures, etc. Thirdly, we have control, which means that you want to influence or you want to direct people's behavior. Lastly, we have apprehend, which means you arrest somebody for crime. So looking back at our question here, we talked about how you want to record a particular picture or series of pictures to form a video. So the closest option that we'll have is here, number 3, record. Okay. Now let's take a look at question 19. Forge ahead. That means you want to make good progress together as a team, etc. Let's look at our options. First one is retreat. Retreat means you move back or you withdraw. Next, we have increase, which means that your quantity or your size rises. Thirdly, we have progress, which means that you move forward towards a destination or a goal. And lastly, when you stagnate, means that you cease to move. So looking at our option here, when you want to forge ahead, that means you want to make progress. The most possible answer would be number 3. Because there's this idea that you want to improve yourself and you want to become better. Okay. Lastly, question 20 here is the word midst, which means in the middle of something. Looking at our options, we have top, which is the uppermost point. We also have finale, which means the last part of a musical or event. In the middle, which is the central point, and climax, which is the most intense part or the most exciting part of something. So when you talk about in the midst or something, it's talking about in the middle. So we already have a direct synonym here. So it's number 3. Okay. So I'll just give everyone some time to take in the information I've just shared before we move on to our section B. Okay, are there any questions? If not, we will take a look at our section B now. Boba tea, commonly known as bubble tea, is a refreshing drink made with black or green tea, fruit syrup or milk, and tapioca pearls. The pearls give the drink dash name as they look like bubbles. So we are looking at replacing drink with another term, which is its name, because we are just referring to the drink itself. The origins of boba tea dash unclear, but it is thought to have started in Taiwan. So over here, you can see that the origins, with an S here, is in plural. As such, we will say the origins are unclear. In the 1980s, it was created in Taichung City. It was created by Liu Han Che, dash combined milk tea with black tapioca balls. So we're looking at this particular person, and this person did all these actions. Okay, all these are your action words, your verb. So if this Mr. Liu could do all this, it means that he is the subject of the sentence. To replace the subject of the sentence with a pronoun, it will be who. Another claim for the creation dash boba tea comes from Mr. Tu Song, the owner of Hailin Tea Room of Tainan City. So we are looking at some kind of creation. That means someone invented the bubble tea. And we are looking at the creation and this relationship with the tea. So when the tea was created, so we'll say the creation of the tea. He was inspired to create boba tea when he saw white tapioca balls dash sale in 1986. So we are looking at how the tea, how the tapioca balls here were allowed to be sold. So the sale here elaborates on the tapioca balls, or why are they in the market. Okay, as such we'll use F4. He wanted to create something new that would be popular dash customers who are bored of drinking the usual teas. So when you want to be popular, and you want to be popular together with a group of people here, this shows that they are complementary. If you want to be popular, you need to have a lot of people to support you, right? So we will use the word among. Okay, yes, among. Alternatively, if I had the choice, I'll use the word with. In recent years, bubble tea dash become highly popular. So we are looking at how the trend started a few years ago and still continuing. So we use the word bubble tea has become increasingly popular. Okay, so it's in the present perfect form. Okay, moving on. His popularity is not only getting stronger as it becomes more commonly found dash the world today. So we're looking at how the bubble tea can be found in many places. So we'll say around the world. All right. Apart from a wide selection of flavors, one can also choose dash from a range of toppings. So over here, you can see that the range of topping is your sauce. So we'll say from a range of toppings, such as flavored pearls, jelly, aloe vera, and puddings. It is not difficult for one to choose dash drink of his or her choice. So we're just looking at a singular subject. And this subject hasn't been mentioned in the whole text. So we will not use an article the, but we will use a. Alright. And with that, we have come to the end of our grammar close. I'll just give everyone some time to take in the information before we move on to our editing. All right, moving on. Let's take a look at this. Many children and adults enjoy playing video games. It is not uncommon to hear their loved ones occasionally asking them to stop. So occasionally is spelled wrongly. Take a break or do something else that does not dash a screen. So over here, we are looking at present tense. Right? So we'll say does not involve a screen. It can be good advice, even if one is tempted to dash the next level he or she has unlocked. So attempt is also spelled wrongly. Why? Well, it is true that some studies have shown certain video games can improve hand-eye coordination. Coordination is spelled this way. Problem-solving skills and the mind ability dash process information. So when you have the ability, it shows that you are willing to, you have that willingness for something. So to show that you are able to do something very well, we will use the word to process the information. Playing too much may cause problems. Firstly, it is difficult to get enough active play and exercise. Exercise is spelled this way. If one is always indoor playing video games, without enough workout, health problems may arise. We will use the present tense because everything else is in this form. Secondly, playing too much video games can also affect one's friendships and relationships. Additionally, it can also affect a child's focus in school and how well an adult performs. So you're looking at dash work. This is a particular place, though not specifically stated. So we'll say perform at the particular place. Okay, so it's the wrong preposition being used here. In addition, studies have also shown, we will say have shown, because the studies have concluded, which means that the action has been completed, but the effect is still felt. People who play violent video games have the tendency, this is how you spell it, to behave or speak more aggressively. Okay, this is how you spell the aggressively. If you enjoy playing video games, make sure it does not become an addiction. We are looking at a noun here. Addict is a adjective. Addicted, right? So just give everyone some time to take in the information before we move on to our comprehension close section. All right. If there are no further questions, let's move on. Ask Singaporeans about their favorite airline, and the answer will most likely be Singapore Airlines. Singapore Airlines, the national flag carrier of Singapore, is one of the most successful airlines in the dash. So we are comparing with other airlines around the world. So we'll just say it's one of the most successful airlines in the world. Okay. Singapore Airlines was incorporated on 28 January 1972, even though its origins can be traced back dash the Malaysian Airways Limited. So we are looking at a particular uh, period of time where this company was formed. So you trace back to, because this is a very specific thing, specific period of time period and company, which that's formed on 21st October 1937. So we're looking at a singular subject and in the past tense. So it will be which was formed on 21 October 1937 over a short dash of 50 years. So we are looking at this time period here, 50 years. So we'll say the short span of 50 years. Is this the comprehensive program? What program are we talking about here? We call this the TikTok live teaching sessions. If you are referring to our tuition program, please refer to the link in bio. Alternatively, we can link you up with our admin who can give you more details about the tuition programs. All right. Hey there, it's who's this? Hey there, it's Megan. Okay. Yep. Good job, Chen Yue Chen. Come, moving on. One can dash a Singapore Airlines stewardess apart in the Changi Airport for her iconic uniform. Okay, over here, we can we are looking at a particular phrasal verb. Okay, where you want to have a verb here together with your preposition, which is apart. The clue is actually iconic uniform, which tells me that the Singapore Airlines stewardess is distinguished easily. That means you can tell, you can spot this person and recognize immediately she's from SIA, right? So this word to show that it can be distinguished easily is you tell someone apart. Dash is accolades. Singapore Airlines is also best known for its impeccable service standards. So over here, we are looking at additional information. And we will need to use a conjunction here, a linking word, to show this transition between different pieces of information. So that will be, you will say, apart from something. Okay, because of the word from here, you cannot use words like besides. Singapore Airlines has dashed itself to provide excellent cabin service standards. So over here, we are looking at how the airline has done something to uphold the high standards or the benchmark, right? So when you want to you want to hit this goal, you will need to commit yourself to it. Okay, to provide excellent cabin service standards for its dash. So we're looking at the people who travel with Singapore Airlines. So we could say for its customers, for its travelers. Okay, both are accepted. One of the highlights of the carrier service features includes dash economy class passengers a choice of meals. So you are trying to give them this choice of meals. So we could say providing or offering the passengers a choice of meals and in-flight entertainment. These privileges have enabled Singapore Airlines to dash a reputation as a premier carrier with high standards of service. So when we have a reputation, that means something that is very good, a good name for yourself, right? We use the term you want to gain a reputation. Outstanding service is just one of the many dash that makes Singapore Airlines a world-class travel brand. So you could see this is just one part of the grading system for being a world-class travel brand. This is just one aspect, right? So you could say that this is the outcome. And in order to reach this outcome, there are many factors. Or you could say that there are many reasons. Okay. The airline is also dashed for lavish flight experiences across cabin classes. So this is something that is everybody knows, okay, because it's a world-class brand. So we'll say the airline is also known, or is also renowned for the flight experiences. Spacious cabins and a commitment to make flying an enjoyable dash. So you can see flying is just going through this motion, so we could talk about it as an experience. All right. The airline's international culinary panel continually creates new dash. So when you have culinary panel, you need to do something with regards to the food. So you could say they create new dishes. Okay. We cannot use the word menu because over here we talk about the taste buds. So it's got to be related directly to food. Today, SIA operates a fleet of more than 140 aircrafts that spans more dash 110 destinations. So we're interested in some kind of comparison here. So we'll say more than 110 destinations. Okay? And with that, we are done with our complete close. So just give everyone some time to take in the information before we move on to our last section, synthesis and transformation. Alright, if there are no further questions, let's take a look at our synthesis and transformation. Both Shenza and Julie do not like to play badminton. So we are saying that nobody likes to play badminton. So neither Shaza nor Julie. So when you have neither, that means zero, which means it's a singular. So we'll say likes to play badminton. We will go to the beach if it does not rain. So this is your criteria. And this is your outcome. So when we talk about unless, we always have the positive connotation of the criteria, which means unless it rains, we will not go to the beach. All right. Now, some of you may be asking, what if I say unless it does not rain, we will go to the beach? Well, I'll say that's also accepted, but the more academic way of presenting your answer will always be to put the positive criteria at the start. Okay? Now, moving on to question 68. Lucas told his mother, I'm going to the library with my friends. So let's highlight the words we need to change. He, his. So it will be he was going to the library with his friends. Okay, and that will be our answer. Now, why is it that here is I am, so this present, then we need to change? It's because when it's in a reported speech question, it needs to be one time period back. That's why it is in past tense. Moving on to question 69. Jin Wei left home earlier than usual. He was still late. So you could see, this is that when you leave home early, this is you have the expectation that you will be on time, but the reality was he's still late. So when you have a word like despite to show that kind of contrast, my expectation must be at the start. followed by a comma, then my reality. So it will be, despite leaving home earlier than usual, Junwei was still late. Okay. Lastly, Hannah was annoyed when she found out that her brother had dirtied her room. So we are interested in changing a word form from a verb here to a noun. So how do we do that? We need to change the word annoyed to annoyance. So much to her annoyance, Hannah found out that her brother had dirtied the room. Okay. Now I'll just give everyone some time to take in the information I've shared. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. If there are no further questions, thank you so much for joining me this afternoon on Writers at Work. I'm teacher Nathan. And if you'd like to learn more P5 or P6 revision with me, do join me tomorrow and Wednesday morning at 10:30, where we'll be looking at more P5 and P6 papers. And in addition, if you have friends who are doing the O levels or in upper secondary, do join me at 12 p.m. on Tuesday and Wednesday, where we'll be looking at our O level paper again. Okay. If there are no further questions, then we shall call it a day today. Bye bye.